Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devim Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We are reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Chapter 1. Today we read text 77 to 102. Text 77. Now, O devotees, please hear a brief explanation of this verse. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thinking in this way after having seen the Jagannath deity. Text 78. The subject of his thoughts was Srimati Radharani, who met Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra. Although she met Krishna there, she was nonetheless thinking of him in the following way. Text 79. She thought of him in the calm and quiet atmosphere of Vrindavan, dressed as a cowherd boy. But at Kurukshetra, he was in a royal dress and was accompanied by elephants, horses, and crowds of men. Thus, the atmosphere was not congenial for their meeting. Text 80. Thus, meeting with Krishna and thinking of the Vrindavan atmosphere, Radharani longed for Krishna to take her to Vrindavan again, to fulfill her desire in that calm atmosphere. Text 81. The gopis spoke thus: Dear Lord, whose navel is just like a lotus flower, your lotus feet are the only shelter from those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence. Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis and highly learned philosophers. We wish that these lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs. Text 82. The gopis thought, Dear Lord, if your lotus feet again come to our home in Vrindavan, our desires will be fulfilled. Text 83. In one verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explained the confidential meaning of the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam for the understanding of the general populace. Text 84. The gopis continued, Dear Krishna, the fragrance of the mellows of your pastimes is spread throughout the forests of the glorious land of Vrindavan, which is surrounded by the sweetness of the district of Mathura. In the congenial atmosphere of that wonderful land, you may enjoy your pastimes with your flute dancing on your lips, and surrounded by us, the gopis, whose hearts are always enchanted by unpredictable ecstatic emotions. Text 85. In this way, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Jagannath, he saw that the Lord was with his sister Subhadra and was not holding a flute in his hand. Text 86. Absorbed in the ecstasy of the gopis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wished to see Lord Jagannath in his original form as Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, standing in Vrindavan and appearing very beautiful. His body curved in three places. His desire to see that form was always increasing. Text 87. Just as Srimati Radharani talked inconsistently with the bumblebee in the presence of Uddhava, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his ecstasy talked crazily and inconsistently day and night. Text 88. The last 12 years of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were passed in this transcendental craziness. Thus he executed his last pastimes in three ways. Text 89. For the 24 years after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order, whatever pastimes he executed were unlimited and unfathomable. What can who can understand the purport of such pastimes? Text 90. Just to indicate those pastimes, I am presenting a general survey of the chief pastimes in the form of a synopsis. Text 91. This is the first synopsis. After accepting the sannyasa order, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded toward Vrindavan. Text 92. When proceeding toward Vrindavan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed with ecstatic love for Krishna, and he lost all remembrance of the external world. In this way, he traveled continuously for 3 days in Radha Desha, the country where the Ganges River does not flow. Text 93. First of all, Lord Nityananda bewildered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by bringing him along the banks of the Ganges, saying that it was the river Yamuna. Text 94. After 3 days, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the house of Advaita Acharya at Shantipura and accepted alms there. This was his first acceptance of alms. At night, he performed congregational chanting there. Text 95. At the house of Advaita Prabhu, he met his mother as well as all the devotees from Mayapur. He adjusted everything and then went to Jagannath Puri. Text 96. On the way toward Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed many other pastimes. He visited various temples and heard the story about Madhavendra Puri and the installation of Gopala. Text 97. From Nityanand Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the story of Shirachura Gopinatha and of the witness Gopala. Then Nityanand Prabhu broke the sannyasa rod belonging to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 98. After his sannyasa rod was broken by Nityanand Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently became very angry and left his company to travel alone to the Jagannath temple. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the Jagannath temple and saw Lord Jagannath, he immediately lost his senses and fell down to the ground. Text 99. After Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Lord Jagannath in the temple and fell down unconscious, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took him to his home. The Lord remained unconscious until the afternoon, when he finally regained his consciousness. Text 100. The Lord had left Nityanand's company and had gone alone to the Jagannath temple. But later Nityananda, Jagadananda, Damodara, and Mukunda came to see him. And after seeing him, they were very pleased. Text 101. After this incident, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy upon Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya by showing him his original form as the Lord. Text 102. After bestowing mercy upon Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Lord started for southern India. When he came to Kurmashetra, he delivered a person named Vasudeva. Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'll stop here.
Yeah, sure, Madhya. Thank you so much, Madhya. Yeah, today is two overall sections. The first section till 90th verse, we're talking about Lord Chaitanya's mood, and then later on it's a summary of the Madhya Lila pastimes. So last time we were discussing how Rupa Goswami received the blessings of Lord Chaitanya when he heard the verse that Lord Chaitanya had recited, and then he created a companion verse, composed a companion verse that supplements the mood of Lord Chaitanya. Then Lord Chaitanya understood that Rupa Goswami understood the mind of Lord Chaitanya and the mood of Lord Chaitanya. He was very happy and he gave all his blessings, and he also asked Swarup Damodara to bless him also. That was what was happening last time. And the last verse we read last time was 76th verse, which is a verse spoken by Srimati Radharani. When she saw Krishna in Kurukshetra, that she wanted to take him to Vrindavan. So this is the companion verse. Basically, Rupa Goswami wrote to elaborate Lord Chaitanya's mood basically. Now, Krishnadas Goswami is explaining the meaning of that verse. The Lord Chaitanya was thinking after seeing Jagannath deity like that. So, what is that? So, Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of Srimati Radharani, who met Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra. So, even though Srimati Radharani met Krishna there, she was thinking in the following way. What way? She was thinking basically that she's seeing Krishna in the royal dress, accompanied by elephants, horses, and crowds of men, like that. But she's normally used to see him as a small, as a nice cowherd, simple cowherd boy in a calm and quiet atmosphere of Vrindavan. So she was thinking that atmosphere is not so congenial for their meeting like that. So she was, because of that, Radharani was longing for Krishna to take her to Vrindavan again to fulfill her desire in the calm atmosphere. This is a common meaning of Jagannath Yatra also we hear from devotees. Now, 81st verse, the gopis were speaking. Gopis are glorifying Krishna's beauty and Krishna's lotus feet basically in this verse. They're saying Krishna's navel is just like a lotus flower. His lotus feet are the only shelter for those fallen in the deep well of material existence. And his lotus feet are worshipped and meditated by great mystic yogis and high learned philosophers also. But they are simple village girls, so they're thinking we wish that same lotus feet, which are so great that are meditated by mystic yogis, may also come into our hearts. Although we're only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs. That's what gopis are thinking. In actuality, gopis have the highest pure love for Krishna. But that is their humility, how they're thinking like that about their position. So now there are no purpose for all these verses. So in this verse, gopis are thinking, dear Lord, if your lotus feet again come to our home in Vrindavan, our desires will be fulfilled. For this, Prabhupada has written a nice purport. There are a couple of points at least. I'll mention those. In this, Prabhupada is referring to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary and is referring to two things. From Gopi's point of view, they're only engaged in pure devotion service of Krishna without any kind of motives. They're not captivated by opulence of Krishna or the understanding that Krishna is the supreme person of Godhead. Not like that. They're loving him as he is, as Krishna, without considering his greatness aspects also in pure devotion service. Similarly, Krishna also was not attracted to gopis because of their beauty or something. Krishna was attracted because of seeing the pure devotion service of the gopis. That is the other aspect Prabhupada mentions in this purport. So then, yeah. So Prabhupada writes that other important, very important point, that gopis, why do they want Krishna to come to Vrindavan and enjoy the pastimes? Not with any kind of selfish desires that they can enjoy with Krishna. They know that Krishna likes Vrindavan atmosphere the best. They know that Krishna likes the service offered by gopis the best. So they want to please him the best. They want to be happy. That is why they're calling him to Vrindavan also. That is a understanding Prabhupada gives in the purport nicely for us. And then next couple of verses indicate how Rupa Goswami explained the conversational meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam verse. So how did he say that? They're saying, dear Krishna, this is a gopi speaking. The fragrance of mellows of your pastimes is spread throughout the forests of Vrindavan, which is surrounded by sweetness of Madhura district. In that congenial atmosphere of that wonderful land, that means in that congenial atmosphere of Vrindavan, then you may enjoy your pastimes. How? With your flute dancing on your lips and surrounded by us, the gopis, whose hearts are always enchanted by unpredictable ecstatic emotions. So they're saying, please come to Vrindavan, which is very sweet. And then there you can actually play your flute also, because it's described, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Jagannath form. He saw Jagannath is not having flute. But so that's why they're thinking like this, gopis. They're saying you can come to Vrindavan and you can play your flute and we will be surrounded by all of us like that, with ecstatic emotions like that. So that's what is described in next verse, that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he saw Jagannath, he saw Jagannath was his sister Subhadra and he was not holding flute in his hand. That is the significance of the previous verse, why they are talking about flute. Now, observed in that ecstasy of the gopis, this is the mood of, remember, till 19th verse is describing the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the mood of gopis with ecstasy and wished to see Jagannath in his original form as Krishna in Vrindavan, cowherd boy form. How he's standing in Vrindavan with the beautiful Tribhanga form, body covered in three places. So, and also, Lord Chaitanya's desire to see him in that form was always increasing, it seems. It's not like a constant, it's keeping on increasing like that. Now, 87th verse, because of that, Lord Chaitanya went into transcendental ecstasy. That is being compared by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to Srimati Radharani. When Uddhava visited Vrindavan, then Radharani also exhibited this transcendental ecstasy and she was talking to Bumblebee in the presence of Uddhava. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya was also in the similar ecstasy, talking as if like crazily, inconsistently, day and night, it seems. So now Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing that the last 12 years of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pastimes in this world, he actually exhibited these ecstatic symptoms of separation. And that is like is calling it as a transcendental craziness, not the regular craziness, but transcendental, because it's not material. It is a transcendental, beyond the modes. So that's how executed pastimes in three ways is describing. What are those? We'll find out. So for the 24 years after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited the renounced order, accepted the renounced order. Remember, when we discussed about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lifetime, we discussed how he was first 24 years he was in West Bengal, Navadip area, and then he took sannyas, and then after 24th year he took sannyas, and then next to 24 years after sannyas are described in Madhya Lila and Lila we discussed, and that is the time he spent in Jagannath Puri primarily as a base, and he traveled to South India in between also. But then within the last 24 years, the last 12 years are spent primarily with ecstatic emotions himself, like that we heard. So, yeah, during the 24 years after sannyas, the pastimes he executed were unlimited and unfathomable. So it's not easy to understand those pastimes like that is indicating. So he's giving a preface now. He's giving this is like connecting verse. He's telling, I'm going to indicate those pastimes. Which pastimes? Next 24 year pastimes. Last 24 years of pastimes. Only the chief pastimes are present in the form of a synopsis. So now the important juncture now is that rest of this whole chapter, lots of verses in this chapter are focused on what is going to elaborate in Madhya Lila. And then second chapter is going to focus on what is going to elaborate in Antya Lila. Why did you do that? Anyways, in part of Madhya Lila now, you can as well describe each of these pastimes in detail, right? So why did that last time we discussed? Is that because he's already in advanced stage, he wanted to make sure he tells about the pastimes of all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, even if it is in brief synopsis fashion first, because he was not sure how many days he's going to live. So that is why he's giving the whole synopsis. The beauty of this is like a teaser for us. That means we get to see all the beautiful, hear about all the beautiful pastimes coming up in a synopsis fashion without much detail. So that way we are looking forward to rest of the Madhya Lila, rest of the Antya Lila, like that. So now he's saying, after accepting sannyasa order, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded towards Vrindavan. This is important to remember. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually performed these pastimes of going to Vrindavan at least few times. This is the first attempt. As soon as he took sannyas, this is first attempt to go to Vrindavan. So mm, Prabhupada writes in the purport that this is the difference between a Vaishnava sannyasi and Mayavad sannyas. As a Vaishnava, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to grow to Vrindavan. So, meaning Vaishnava sannyasi is completely relieved from all material activities and they're fully devoted to transcendental loving service of Krishna. Whereas Mayava sannyasis think that the world is false, but the Vaishnava sannyasis think that world is real, though temporary, and everything in the world is meant for service of Krishna. So that is the difference of Vaishnava and Sannyasa. Vaishnava Sannyasi, Prabhupada writes, for Vaishnava Sannyasi, renunciation means not accepting anything for personal sense enjoyment. Devotional service means engaging everything for satisfaction of Krishna. That is the main difference between Vaishnava Sannyasi and then Mayavad Sannyasi, Prabhupada writes in the purport. Now, while he was attempting to go to Vrindavan after sannyas, he was overwhelmed with ecstatic emotions. So he could not see what's going on in the external world fully. So what did he do? In Radhadesh, Radhadesh is described as a place in Bengal where the Ganges rivers is not flowing, that portion of Bengal basically. So he traveled continuously for 3 days in their ecstatic symptoms, thinking that he needs to go to Vrindavan, but he's not moving, making progress basically. That time, Lord Nityananda directed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to bank of the Ganges and told him, "Oh, you are already in Vrindavan. This is river Yamuna. See, like that." So that's how he redirected him to Shantipur basically. Shantipur is the residence of Advaita Acharya. We heard previously several sessions ago. Then after going around 3 days like that, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally landed at house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur. And he accepted his first alms there, it seems. Alms means begging, like sannyas, they take charity food like that, right? So he took his first alms there. So, and then at night time, he performed Sankirtan, congregation chanting there, it seems. So, and during that time, Mother Sachidevi was also invited to see Lord Chaitanya for the first time as sannyas. So that's also being described now briefly. Remember, all this is a trailer for us to read the rest of the chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is just like a trailer. So we can get inspired to hear more pastimes coming up. So now he's saying that at the house of Advaitacharya, what happened? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met his mother Sachidevi and also the devotees from Mayapur, and he adjusted everything and then went to Jagannath Puri. What is this adjustment? Prabhupada is coming in the purport. Basically, Mother Sachi was shocked to see Lord Chaitanya in sannyas with head shaven and everything like that. So he pacified, all the devotees pacified Mother Sachi Devi, and Lord Chaitanya asked her to cook because he's hungry for last 3 days. He did not eat. Remember, he was in transcendental emotions, right? So he asked her to cook food for her. She was very happy to cook for him. As long as he was there in Advaita home, she cooked for him, it seems. So that way, he pacified Mother Sachidevi, and on her request that not go to Vrindavan, but stay in Jagannath Puri, so he went to Jagannath Puri from there. We'll hear more details about these pastimes coming up later on. So now, on the way to Jagannath Puri, what happened is being briefly described now. What happened on the way to Jagannath Puri? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed many pastimes. What are those? He visited various temples. Some of the temples, we'll hear about them. And then he heard the story of Madhavendra Puri and the installation of Gopal deity in Vrindavan. Like that, he heard the stories. These stories will be elaborated in later chapters of Madhya Lila were coming up. Now, just giving the synopsis form. Now, he says, from Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya heard from Nityananda Prabhu, it seems. About what? About Shirachor Gopinath temple. They go to this place. I think it's called Remuna. Yeah, Remuna. Remuna. Yeah, Prabhupada writes in the purport. Is Remuna. They go to a place called Remuna, where Shirachor Gopinath temple is there. And then when they go there, Nityananda glorifies and explains the pastime of Shirachor Gopinath to Lord Chaitanya. And also, he also explains the story of Witness Gopala, means Sakshi Gopal. That is how we commonly know about him. Sakshi Gopal, it is in Satyavadi village, it seems, and nearby Jagannath Puri. That's what Prabhupada indicates in the purport also. Then after that, another nice pastime happened where Nityananda Prabhu broke the sannyas rod that belongs to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll hear more details about this in the next chapters. But basically, after that sannyas rod was broken by Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently became angry on Lord Nityananda that I only had two positions, Kamandulu and sannyas rod. Why did you break it like that? He was angry at Nityananda Prabhu. And then he left Nityananda Prabhu company and saying that I'm going to go alone now, like that. Until now, there is traveling with some of the associates to Jagannath Puri. Now, Lord Chaitanya goes first to Jagannath temple before everybody else comes now. So when he goes first to Jagannath Puri temple, he sees Lord Jagannath for first time. He immediately fell unconscious on the ground. So this is a pastime is performing. We'll find out more details. Basically, text 9 is describing. Then when he fell unconscious like that, Sarvam Bhattacharya took him to his home, it seems. So Sarvam Bhattacharya was a head priest. Actually, is the chief priest of the king also. King of that place is Prataprudra. And he also the highest official for the temple also. So he understood this personality is someone special, is the saintly personality, is not ordinary, he understood. Because he's the elevated Vaishnava. So, he's very learned actually. He will become later Vaishnava. Now he's the Mayavadi sannyasi currently. So he takes Lord Chaitanya to his home. And the Lord Chaitanya remains unconscious till afternoon, it seems. This pastime is described in very elaborate detail in coming up chapters. Now he's just giving synopsis. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami now for us. So now Lord Chaitanya, when he went to Jagannath Puri alone, temple alone, after that sometime, Nityananda Prabhu, Jagdananda, Damodara, Mukunda, who are all traveling with him earlier, they also finally reach Jagannath Puri and they find out from the temple that he is in Sarvam Bhattacharya's home. So they also finally come to that home, and after seeing him, they also become very pleased. There are more details of this pastime coming up, where they do Sankirtan so that Lord Chaitanya comes back to his senses, external world, like that. Now, this verse is describing that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy upon Sarvam Bhattacharya. How he bestowed his mercy is coming up in later chapters. And then he shows his Sadbhuj form also, original form as a Lord. He shows his form as Supreme Lord to Sarvam Bhattacharya. And that's also coming up now. The last verse for today, and then I think we are ending at 101, 102, 102, right? Okay. So after giving that mercy to Sarvam Bhattacharya like that, he started for South India trip. So far, we heard about two broad things that are going to be described in Madhya Lila. One is Lord Chaitanya going to Vrindavan, that is one. Second one was Lord Chaitanya going to Jagannath Puri, that is second big section. Third big section is Lord Chaitanya going towards South India trip. These are all described in the coming up chapters now. Second chapter, third chapter, fourth chapter, like that. Not second chapter. Second chapter is a summary of Antya Lila. Third, fourth, fifth, like that. These will be described in detail. Then, when Lord Chaitanya came to Kurmakshetra, this is actually in Andhra Pradesh near Srikakulam. I think in Srikakulam district, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So Kurmakshetra, he delivered a person named Vasudeva. So there's no pastime described here. There's no purport also for this verse. He's just enumerating the wonderful pastimes we're going to hear now, like a trailer for us to excite us, for attracting us to the coming up pastimes. So that's where we end today. Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita ki jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer obeisance to devotees also. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kupasindubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much, devotees. Those who joined for the 7 o'clock session, please hang on. to the call, 7 o'clock Bhagavad Gita session.